folks, Izzy here with you today, and I just wanted to give you our 9-week update before this big old storm comes rolling in here. We're going to have ourselves I see the wind is picking up, and we're going to have ourselves a nice little storm here. I figured I better get this done before this starts dropping some wind and rain on me. But here is our 9-week update. There's all of our grow beds. Let's move in here and see what's going on. Here's grow bed number 1. We got our broccoli is still hanging in there. Our bean plant that my son put in there is doing pretty good. I put in a couple of pieces of lettuce and spinach to fill up this grow bed a little bit more. Those seem to be doing pretty good. I did find some little green caterpillar worms in there eating my lettuce, so I took them and plucked them off and fed them to my fish. Nice little snack. This one, I also put in some additional lettuce. I remember that seed I put in there from last week is growing like crazy. Now look at that bell pepper in the back there. I'll talk about this one here in just a second, but this one is actually doing much better. After I got those little white bugs off of there, it's putting out some new growth, new leaves and such, so that one's actually looking pretty good. Now I came out here today, and I believe that the bell siphon on this grow bed had stopped functioning correctly, so I had to do a little modification of the grow bed, and that is probably why that bell pepper plant right there began to wilt. Testing that theory, it is now functioning correctly. Just had a little bit of a maintenance issue there. Hopefully that bell pepper, it was just yesterday looking fine, and it's starting to put out some new growth and stuff, and then I came out this morning and it was kind of wilted looking, so I'm gonna have to watch that one and see what's going on. It looks like it's actually coming back a little bit already from having fixed that bell siphon, malfunctioning. In this grow bed, the corn is still hanging in there and actually doing pretty good. It's not nearly as good as the stuff that I have in the ground. It may also be this lava rock. The lettuce that I put in there is actually doing pretty good. But the corn, it's definitely growing and it's still doing okay, but it's not as good as the stuff I got in the ground. These melon and cucumber and squash, zucchini, yeah, I got squash, zucchini, and melons in here, are growing like mad. They're just growing like crazy. This one is going to make good his escape over the wall here pretty darn quick, poking his head out there. Look at all of the flowers and all of the growth. Just tons of stuff here. We're going to have some fruit popping off of this thing here pretty quick. I'm excited about that. That's looking real good in grow beds number 4 and 5. And now you remember that last week I think I showed that there was some yellowing of the leaves near the base of the plants, sprouting outwards, but the leaves at the bottom of the plants were nice and green, so I deduced that was probably an iron deficiency. So I put in I have to look at my notes, but I believe it's half a teaspoon of chelated iron. I just dumped it right down the bell siphon right there in this grow bed, and that seems to have cured the problem with the yellowing leaves at the base of the plant. So that was a really nice, that worked out just great. Let's open up our fish tank lid here and see how our fish are doing. Oh yes, look how big they are. They're excited. I just fed them a little while ago, but they're voracious eaters. They think I'm going to feed them again. They're crazy. Anyway, they are getting very big, doing very nice. And I mentioned previously in a couple of other videos about how I was feeding them in kind of clumps of food, and the big bully fish were getting all the food, and there was still some puny ones in there. The puny ones are disappearing. Oops. Somebody's in trouble. That's always nice to hear. No, the puny ones have kind of disappeared and are turning large because I've been scattering the food over the tank a bit more, so that those aggressive ones, they're still pretty aggressive, you know, flying around trying to beat everybody out of the way to get the food, but it's scattered around a bit more, and the smaller fish are able to get it without any real difficulties. They're not having to fight so much. So they're definitely getting their fill of it, and they're getting bigger like the other ones are, but we still got quite a few in there that are just turning into brutes. You can see them, they're getting pretty darn big. This thing, I'll talk kind of loud because we got lots of water flushing down here. The pipes are all looking good and working well. I'm not real happy about that diverter with just the holes drilled in it. It's kind of splashing around all over the place. I'm not losing very much water. I have calculated I'm losing about 10 gallons of water every 4 to 5 days, which is not too bad at all. But I'm going to use a ball valve and just shoot it directly down into the tank to kind of minimize the splash. So I think that will probably be better, and you'll probably see that next week. The ants are still in here occasionally. I flood them out, but you know what? They don't really seem to be doing very much because they don't appear to be damaging the plants or anything. And I don't have any extraordinary bug problems. I've been looking at these things, and I don't see much bugs on them except for the ants. So I'm just leaving the ants alone and just kind of messing with them every once in a while and flooding the beds to kind of piss them off and make them run away. But they come back after 3 days or something. It's not a huge deal. But yeah, you can see on these plants that we got just all kinds of little buds popping out everywhere on these things. So I expect that pretty soon we'll have some fruit and vegetables growing. And hopefully our little bell pepper plant there will perk back up. Let's take a look at some of our other stuff that's growing here. This lettuce that is growing in the ground and this spinach that's growing in the ground is actually doing pretty good. It's hanging in there. Every once in a while when one of these plants gets a little large, and to thin these out a little bit, I'll grab one of these and put it in the aquaponics system, and they seem to be doing really well. The corn in this little patch is doing really nice. This is a very nice spot for corn for some reason. Just loving that area. Likes the shade in that area or something. Let's take a look over here. You can see that the bean plant, there's like 1 or 2 pieces of carrot left in there, but it died off pretty much. But that bean sprout is actually doing pretty good in that little bucket there. The aloe vera is doing very nicely. It's a little yellowish though. I was wondering about putting some iron in there to see if that would help the yellowing of that aloe vera plant. None of the, I don't believe any of the onions that we planted in this little patch. Actually, I take that back. There is one onion right there. Looks like that one little tiny onion is the only one that actually made it. But the carrots in this little section are actually doing pretty good. And the grapevine is doing very nice. Putting out lots of new shoots. Kind of hanging in there waiting to see if there's going to be some new little clusters of grapes popping loose on this thing somewhere. We shall see. Also, my palm here has got some yellowing around the tips, so I was going to put a little bit of iron on that one as well to see how that goes. But that is it, and maybe later I'll clean out some of that crap and decide to plant something else in there. You can see that that tree that fell over, I'm going to turn into some firewood. And that's pretty much it, folks. There is the week 9 update for Izzy's desert aquaponics system. And I hope that very soon we'll have some fruits and veggies to show you. So, rock and roll, folks. We'll check you out next week.